Let's get into the mess that is the controversy that has engulfed this president and this administration around Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a horrible guy. He was also an immensely powerful guy when you consider the connective tissue that was Jeffrey Epstein and all of the people around him, some of the most powerful people in the world. Bill Clinton frequented Jeffrey Epstein's flights to various exotic ports of call. It's been suggested he went to Thailand with him, also the Epstein Island. Clinton was there. Bill Gates, Ehud Barak, of course, Prince Andrew. Is it Prince Andrew? Was that the guy? I always get my princes confused.
Got the right prince.
And so on. And then financiers. I'm leaving out Wexel, who had the fortune that Epstein was supposedly in charge of, and many other Wall Streeters and big money people. And these financiers were all connected to Jeffrey Epstein in one way or another. Were business deals made? Probably. But there was also, at the core of Jeffrey Epstein's world, was the trafficking of minors and the trafficking of these underage people, girls and boys. And the revelations around Jeffrey Epstein are known in part, but there's a whole file on Jeffrey Epstein. There's no question that there's a file, right? We know this, yes? Thousands of pages, not just 1,000-page, but thousands. And we know this from depositions, photographs, witness testimony. It's all there. It's undeniably there. And this isn't a file that was put together by Democrats. The charging of Jeffrey Epstein that ultimately led to his death happened under Donald Trump. In fact, this is how crazy this MAGA-verse is, and the defense of Donald Trump. When they circle their wagons, they lose track of what they're saying even. MAGA world is angry about this. Show me first, if you would, Albert, Trump's remarks, and then I want to show you how Bill O'Reilly, who's a big defender of Trump, it would seem, gets confused about the timeline himself and trying to blame Democrats. And they realize in the moment, you'll see it in a moment, he realizes, oh gosh, it's not on the Democrats' watch that all this stuff happened. The cover-up, start to finish. That is to say, the suicide, the files, it all happened on Trump's watch. But first, here's Trump in the White House.
President Trump lashing out at his own supporters amid the ongoing Republican outcry over his administration's decision not to release Justice Department files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats.
The president dismissing the interest by some in the MAGA world in Epstein as a Democratic distraction and chastising those supporters as, quote, weaklings.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East.
But the demands for public disclosure of Epstein-related evidence originated with some of the president's most outspoken supporters, some now serving in his administration, like FBI Director Kash Patel 2 years ago.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
This from the president's son.
How is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light?
And this was the president during the campaign.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because it's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
But last week, the Justice Department and FBI released a memo saying they had found no incriminating client list of Epstein's and no credible evidence Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and that they would make no further disclosure. Multiple federal law enforcement officials tell NBC News that memo accurately describes the findings of law enforcement in the Epstein investigation. The president saying it's up to Attorney General Pam Bondi whether to release the material.
If she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems.
We pressed him.
Your Attorney General wasn't here, your FBI leadership. Do you still have confidence in that team, sir?
Totally. Now some top Republicans are downplaying any GOP divide.
I have confidence in the president and his team.
But after an array of outspoken Trump allies demanded the files be made public, there are more calls for the government information to be released.
The Epstein files need to be released.
I would say make it all public. NBC's Gary.
Okay, that's the overview. So you see how MAGA Nation, both those in power and those who remark on power and those who gave Trump power, the electorate, they're angry. And you find, as I say, this odd thing that happens as they circle their wagons around Trump to try to defend him. The timeline just doesn't work out. The cover-up with Epstein's suicide and then subsequent revelations about what he was awaiting trial for, it all happened on Trump's watch. The cover-up, if you want to see it as a cover-up, and I think it clearly is, it happened on Trump's watch. But watch, now this is a little lengthy clip, so stay with it. Watch as Bill O'Reilly tries to blame Democrats and is in denial of this timeline that I just described. Go ahead, Albert.
Why couldn't Pam Bondi say, if people are going to trust Donald Trump, and they should trust the government, to say, look,
I don't know.
Here are the Epstein files. Hold on. Here are the Epstein files. And yes, there's a lot of names. And by the way, we've investigated all of them, and we have cleared all of them. None of them have engaged in wrongdoing. Something about this, and I think what you said in the first part is actually what makes the most sense. This is a mystery. There's all sorts of explanations flying around and justifications, but there aren't any real answers.
Look, Leland, there's a reason why all criminal investigations are redacted when there is no prosecution, okay? But you can release names of somebody under investigation. That is absolutely legitimate to do. But in this case, as I pointed out 50,000 times, and as you well know, the press is not going to apply any context, nor are the gutter snipes on social media. If your name is in the Epstein file or papers, you're going to be attacked, period. That is what's going to happen. And Trump knows that. So I concur with him 100% that you don't throw names out there unless there's some kind of guilt or investigation attached to them.
Okay.
But it is a mystery, and I think not a smart thing, to create the perception that the Trump administration is hiding something. And that is the perception that is out there now. Tomorrow, if I were president, I would say to Ms. Bondi, you get Merrick Garland, we'll call him up if we can find out where he is, and you two will answer general questions, which you and I can put names on.
And you and I know Garland's not going to show up. But the people who are showing up,
embarrass him.
The people who are showing up are Democrats on this issue. We'll play Hakeem Jeffries. Take a listen.
This is where things start to get pretty intense with O'Reilly.
The American people deserve to know the truth. What, if anything, is the Trump administration and the Department of Justice hiding?
All right, then Van Hollen, appropriations amendment. The
This is
provision
when O'Reilly tries to lean in and watch this.
Wait, before you get to anybody else, come back to me. I want to address the minority leader in the House. This is how disingenuous that comment was, and this is what infuriates me about these people. Jeffries knew the Biden administration had exactly the same thing the Trump administration has on Epstein. Exactly.
Right.
Because Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Not one time did Hakeem Jeffries call for any exposition of what the Biden Justice Department knew. Not once. So this guy's a top phony, okay? He's a political player. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care about the people.
Hold on. Bill.
This is what
hold on.
he does.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. You said Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Epstein committed suicide during the Trump administration.
Yeah, so?
How is he convicted? How do you convict a guy who's dead?
Epstein was convicted in, I believe, okay, under Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That could be. Am I wrong on that? I don't think so. And then he was incarcerated, and then he committed suicide. Okay. The suicide thing is bull. I know the New York coroner's office very, very well. There's no way those people in there put a phony report about a suicide. No way. Impossible. And it's not hard to ascertain whether you committed suicide.
I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important. He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were in of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. And that's a good point of clarification. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all of the information.
Epstein was arrested, indicted, and committed suicide under Trump. In 2019, Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general.
Okay, I stand corrected. So 19, that came in the first Trump administration, correct?
Yeah, and Bill Barr was the attorney general. Bill Barr was the guy who ordered the investigation into the suspected suicide.
Right. But then for 4 years, did you hear Hakeem Jeffries?
Right. Thank you, Albert. That I just love for the fact that Google it exactly.
Sounded really good until you got fact checked live on the air.
Yeah, I mean, you see how this store-bought rage that they're all loaded up with, and this kind of recriminatory anger that. But how can they yell about this when this happened on their watch? Bill, it didn't. But the reason that O'Reilly, first of all, it's delicious to watch O'Reilly get owned like that, and to see someone like Bill O'Reilly, who fancies himself from sort of coming from on high to give you his opinions on any number of things, and to really go on the jihad for the president, Trump, to defend him, not have his basic facts and timeline straight. It's crazy. So exactly, O'Reilly loves Trump, says shadow producer Calvin Wong. So Bill O'Reilly, though, is just an example of what's happening as there is thinner and thinner ice when it comes to trying to defend Donald Trump. Donald Trump is all over the Jeffrey Epstein files. They hung out together all the time. Not saying that Donald Trump was involved in any pedophilia or any of this stuff that's being clearly demonstrably talked about in these Epstein files. As I say, the files are filled with depositions, investigation that involve witnesses, all of these different materials. So we know what Epstein was about, and we can put together, based again on witness testimony, on depositions, et cetera, what there were civil lawsuits about this. This stuff is available. We know in part fragments of what is in all of these files that people would like to see released, and it's really damning stuff. But it's damning about Epstein, and then by suggestion, all of these other people that he was involved with. Although some of those people he was involved with, and I'll include the Dershowitzes of the world, I mean, they are mentioned in these depositions in really damning ways. So let me just get back to Trump's problem. Trump's problem is that he is throughout these files, as I say, and so the release of these files is going to have his name all over it, like a bad smell. He knows it, Bondi knows it, Patel knows it, Bongino knows it. Now what? We're here. We promised we'd release them, but the king is all over the files. Don't know what to do. Here is what MAGA Nation, in the form of the Candace Owens of the world. Where's that mashup, Albert? The Alex Jones, Candace Owens. Can you give me a little bit of that? These guys they're on blast about this. Here's a little of Alex Jones.
You talk about this, I'm going to excommunicate you. Well, you're not the
Talking
Pope,
about the
bro.
threat.
Millions of Americans are not satisfied with what we've been told. And we shouldn't be, because it's been contradictory and insulting to our intelligence every step of the way.
Trump should not be insulting and attacking the people who voted him in and supported him simply because they want answers on this notorious case of a high-profile individual.
Why did they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit? Why did they say that?
I can't reconcile this Donald Trump with the Trump that we're seeing right now, the Trump that is gaslighting the public right now, the Trump that I voted for across multiple elections. The Epstein scandal is definitely terminal cancer to Trump's MAGA movement.
Yeah. And so what does happen to Donald Trump? What does happen politically as he takes on so much water as a result of this scandal? I mean,
did you see that the MAGA are turning on, as you just kind of played in that video, MAGA are turning on themselves. They're not giving up. But there's a video I saw in the Guardian US version today where MAGA faithful are burning their MAGA hats because they're so upset over this whole Epstein thing that they're throwing them in the fire pit and they're setting their MAGA hats on fire. This is it.
I mean, this is a disillusioned group. They see that, here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. It's odd to me because if you just looked at the arithmetic and the calendar, you would have seen that the new boss, Donald Trump, when he was the new boss in his first term, he had total control over the Epstein files. The lie, if you will, about Epstein's suicide in prison, now covered by a 3-minute gap in the surveillance video of the prison, completely buried by those in power at the time. There, we're showing you the burning of the MAGA hats. But they would realize that he was involved. He was the lead official and top executive in America, Donald Trump was, during this entire time that Epstein was incarcerated, awaiting trial, and then committed suicide. And so when you look at cover-up, you have to look at Trump 1, season 1, when he was, as I say, in control of all the information. Now that he's back in power, he's continuing where he left off. And the problem is, in those intervening years, there was so much of a cry for transparency, and Trump himself, and you saw his son calling for transparency as well. They made it clear they were going to release all of these files along with all the files on MLK, JFK, UFOs, etc. So what do? You realize on some level, this guy's a fraud. Now, I'd suggest he's a fraud on things way more important. I mean, please don't misunderstand me. I don't mean to diminish the real victims of Jeffrey Epstein. But in terms of what's happening in America and worldwide, Donald Trump has fraudulently pursued a message about how he's going to change things, how he's going to improve life in America. That was all a fraud, I'd suggest. But the fraud that was associated with that didn't really punch through to MAGA. They were about other things, cultural wedge issues, these sorts of things. But now, as I always say, sex scandals really do cut through. People understand them. People become irate, appropriately in this case, because it involves children. Children are involved here. And you have Donald Trump continuing this cover-up. And it's no wonder he's continuing it, because he is all over those files. Not saying he was involved with children. But what I'm saying is, most clearly, and he admitted to it and talked about it, he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. They were pals. They were international playboys. And so hanging out with this guy who, on some level, you're aware, and if you're not aware at the time, you're certainly aware now that you've seen all the information and investigative work, is involved with children in this way and trafficking them, it's a really ugly smell. And it's getting all over Donald Trump.
Do you remember before the election, both elections with involving Trump, when or at least the second one, when he started laying, no, both, he started laying the groundwork early for, there's going to be cheating before any votes were even cast. It's almost like he was looking for a way out. He was looking for an excuse. He was looking to blame someone for him losing before the election even happened. It feels like yesterday when Trump blamed Obama and Biden for he said, listen, if the documents or the files are even released, they're not even going to be reliable because Obama and Biden, they have manipulated the files now, so anything in those files can't be trusted because the Democrats have their hands all over them. It's almost like another preemptive strike. Like he knows what you just said, that his names are going to be all over these files. So he's looking for a way of saying, see, now even if my name's all over the files, the files can't be trusted because of the Democrats.
Yes,
Right.
I think that's exactly right.
Mhm.
That's exactly what's happening. I mean, there
Yeah.
are a couple of things, and I will get to what I think is an even more dangerous strategy or another strategy that he will pursue. But certainly the short-term strategy is it's a Democrat, and he will say Democrat hoax, right? Democratic concocted hoax now. This is their new hoax to put me throughout the files. I would say one important thing to that. Sir, you have control of the files. You couldn't have put together an administration more loyal than the one you have. You have Patel, Bondi, who will do whatever you want. You have the Justice Department completely filled with Trump loyalists. There's no way there's anything in those files that's concocted by Democrats because no Democrats have control over anything anymore. You're in control. So that is really a weak argument for what will likely be, if we get to see anything, the revelations about the amount of time that Donald Trump spent with Jeffrey Epstein. He was on the plane and with Epstein all the effing time. And that then really won't carry the day, and many know it, and among them Elon Musk. In a series of posts on his social media platform X, Musk mocked Donald Trump and the wild claim that the files related to the federal investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, the late sex offender, longtime Trump friend, are a hoax from Democrats. Quote, wow, amazing that Epstein, quote, killed himself and Ghislaine is in federal prison for a hoax, Musk wrote. And this, again, speaks to the absurdity of it. Not a single Epstein client has been prosecuted. Not a single one, said Elon Musk. And in response to Tim Pool, who's a far-right podcaster, Trump is trying to nuke his base by insisting that any of his supporters who bought into a hoax created by Democrats were weaklings. Musk wrote, he should just release the files and point out which part is the hoax. Elsewhere on Musk's platform, Theo Vaughn shared video of J.D. Vance agreeing with him in an old interview. Quote, seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. This is an important thing. And Vaughn says, what changed? So you really see the way in which Trump takes on more and more water. Mike Pence saying it's time to release the files. And then Trump with all kinds of weird posts to try to throw people off the scent about Jeffrey Epstein. For example, there was this crazy declaration that Trump made about Coca-Cola, wasn't it, yesterday on X?
Yeah.
You have that, Albert? It's in the rundown. If you, I'll just read it for those who are listening to the podcast. I've been speaking to Coca-Cola about using, in capital letters, real cane sugar in Coke in the United States, and they have agreed to do so. I'd like to thank all of those in authority at Coca-Cola. This will be a very good move by them. You'll see. It's just better. But that was retweeted by Gavin Newsom, who said, oh, thank God. I've totally forgotten about the Epstein files now. So there is Trump drinking his delicious Coca-Cola while golfing. So let me tell you what I think will happen also, just to round this out, and then we'll move on. Trump's desperate. Trump is someone who is not going to ever admit blame, not going to ever do anything but try to point to others, and he's not going to do anything apart from trying to distract. So the distraction that's likely coming, I think, is a special prosecutor, not about the Epstein files. He doesn't want a special prosecutor on the Epstein files. That's been suggested by so many.
Lauren Boebert apparently is asking for that.
I mean, it's just absurd. He wants this Epstein file, he wants it deep sixed somewhere. But I do believe that he will begin his move against people like Comey and Brennan, who he's already targeted, and other high-profile Democrats. He'll go back to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. He'll attack the Biden family more. He'll assign Justice Department lawyers to those kinds of cases, trying to elevate them. He'll go after Adam Schiff and anybody who can help to throw the MAGA world off the scent of Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I think is going to happen. You're going to see a lot more in the way of investigations that are associated with high-profile Democrats. He's going to try to create a scandal for the Democrats to throw the media and, as I say, this mob that wants the files released, to throw them off that scent. So watch for that. I think it is coming. And then the last thing I'll point to is what happened yesterday. He dumped James Comey's daughter, who was apparently a distinguished prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. I say that because apparently if you look at her record in the Southern District, it was distinguished over a 10-year period. He fired her. I mean, she was fired, I should say. I'm sure she was fired, though, at the request and the demand of the President of the United States. So you see how he hates James Comey. I mean, by the way, I don't like James Comey. I think he threw the election for Donald Trump. It's such a weird thing that James Comey is on his enemies list, given the fact that James Comey is maybe one of the reasons that he became president. I mean, I think you can argue it. When Comey makes the announcement, the FBI makes the announcement that they're reopening an investigation into Hillary Clinton and her emails and the email server. 10 days he makes that announcement before the election? I mean, come on, man. So I'm not a Comey fan either, but Trump is, again, he wants Comey and he wants anything related to Comey, and as a result, he dumped or saw to it that Comey's daughter was dumped from the Southern District as a prosecutor. So I'll get David Katz to comment on that, but I think that's essentially the overview. Did I leave anything out, Albert, on the, was there any other video I wanted to show or not? Albert has, here he is. This is from Lawrence O'Donnell last night. Is that what this is? Yeah. This was sent to me by one of our viewers and listeners, and let's give it a look real quick.
Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
They're stupid people. He's talking about Republicans. And no, the sad part is not that we're talking about the Epstein files. The sad part is what happened to those little girls when Donald Trump's friend, Jeffrey Epstein, got his hands on them. Michael Flynn served 24 days as Donald Trump's first national security advisor before being fired by Donald Trump and then convicted of federal crimes for which Donald Trump, of course, pardoned him today. Michael Flynn wrote this on social media.
Oh, stop for a second. I just want to say this about Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn, just give me 10 seconds on Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn is an awful guy. He's a Christo-fascist. He is a jihadist. He would like to make America a Christian nation. He clearly was in league, it would seem, with the Russians. Both Obama felt that way. Ultimately, Trump fired him as well, as you just heard O'Donnell say. So when we talk about Michael Flynn, please, I don't want to lift Michael Flynn to some level of holiness. He is not worthy of that. But look at what he wrote. Go ahead, Albert.
Donald Trump. I hesitated to write this, however, with the utmost respect and deference to you for all you've withstood. Few know it better than me, what the deep state can do when they want to turn on a person. The Epstein affair is not about who killed him or if he committed suicide personally. I'm glad this known pedophile is dead, but neither is this a hoax. This issue goes beyond all that. There are millions of Americans who've overwhelmingly voted for you to be our president, and we want you to be massively successful. No one more than me. All we want at this stage is for a modicum of trust to be reestablished between our federal government and the people it is designed to serve. That's all, period, exclamation point. An element that is of great importance surrounding this Epstein affair is the fact this man was a known pedophile, had a list of clients who represented the upper crust of society and likely did untoward things to children on his island, in his homes in New York City and New Mexico, and maybe elsewhere. He was convicted of it. Regardless of what class of society abuses and commits crimes against children, it is never acceptable. This is where this argument went off the rails. It is not about Epstein or the left. It is about committing crimes against children. If there are leaks inside of our country that have committed crimes against children, shame on them. They must be held accountable. A sampling of Trump-supporting media today was not supportive of Donald Trump on the Epstein files. Alex Jones spoke directly and hysterically to Donald Trump on his program.
You have put the gun in your mouth and ours collectively. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. 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 For God's sakes, don't attack your constituents when they have morals and aren't robots.
All right. Very good.
Did we just hear Alex Jones talk about having morals?
Yeah, it's an odd...
Wow. Okay.
By the way, Alex Jones, I guess, just what does he do? He reconstitutes himself somehow, and he's back on this InfoWars. I thought InfoWars was over. I thought he was broke. I don't know. He's got a pretty nice set with multiple cameras, and he does his thing. He, players got to play, I guess. Is that what's happening?
Wow.
Crazy. That's what's happening a bit. I mean, Jamie Raskin was very good on this as well. I didn't know if you wanted to play that, Kim. I know you like that cut, but there's no shortage of people on both sides of the aisle saying,
even
hey.
Mike Pence is calling for the release of the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Carolyn Leavitt stands up at the White House and says, the media just needs to stop talking about this. Americans don't care. Well, clearly, Americans care.
Yeah. Well, you know who is, just to round it out, in Epstein land, looking for a break and a pardon? Anybody? Who is looking for a break and a pardon now that the Epstein thing is just a hoax and there's no there, the way Donald Trump is saying?
Ghislaine
Maxwell, exactly. Her family writing to Trump and saying, as questions continued about whether the Trump administration had acted with transparency in releasing files related to the crimes and death of Jeffrey Epstein, the family of his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, called on the president to treat her fairly. Attorneys for Maxwell, she was found guilty in December of 2021 of conspiring to sexually exploit girls with Epstein have asked the Supreme Court to review her case. The Supreme Court, claiming that Epstein's federal non-prosecution agreement in Florida should also have prevented her from facing federal charges in New York. The Department of Justice earlier this week urged the Supreme Court to reject that argument, which lower courts have already done on the basis that New York prosecutors weren't bound by that Florida deal. I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. Maxwell's attorney, David Oscar Marcus, said, "He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it." "Our sister Ghislaine did not receive a fair trial," said the family. The deal was Epstein in 2007 avoided a lifetime in prison in a non-prosecution agreement negotiated with Alex Acosta. Remember Alex Acosta? He ended up as labor secretary in Trump's first term. And so Alex Acosta, who was then, because the heat was so hot around him, let go by the Trump administration. Alex Acosta was another example of those who acted on behalf of powerful people to make a deal with Epstein and to essentially allow him not to really serve any time. Remember, that was a whole thing where he was essentially just going back and forth from home. He was able to stay at home. He never had to actually serve any time incarcerated. Anyway, it is true that Ghislaine Maxwell's people are leaning on the Trump administration heavily to review her case. If there's nothing there, then she should be able to walk. And many say that, and it won't happen now, but it might happen. In fact, I think it likely will happen at the end of his administration. He'll pardon her, and Ghislaine Maxwell will walk. And, you know, having pardoned so many, if you look at his pardons there, we're going to have the pardon attorney for the federal government on the show here in, I think, in the next couple of weeks. She's left the federal government now, but she can speak quite brilliantly about this, as David Katz does, also weighing in on these various pardons of everybody from J6ers to potentially a Ghislaine Maxwell. So that's the position of the Maxwell family looking at things now.
Unless Ghislaine Maxwell speaks, right? If she opens her mouth and accuses the Trump administration, or if she's summoned before Congress and actually says all the things that she knows, then kiss that pardon goodbye. So in that case, then they control what she has to say.
Yeah, I mean, Kim makes a really good point. The fact that she could sing like a canary is the thing that might keep her in prison. I suspect that she's ready to make whatever deal, either implicit or explicit, about keeping her mouth shut. Just get me out of this place of federal prison. So,
hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.